You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am.
Hello and welcome to an introduction to a Lenten series that I want us to do. I want us to take some time during Lent considering the parable of the prodigal son alongside this book, which is The Return of the Prodigal Son by Henri Nouwen. Henri Nouwen was a Catholic priest who worked with disabled people. He also wrote quite a few books, and this is a book that he said was one of his favourites. He was born in Holland in 1932, and for the latter part of his life worked at Larch in Daybreak near Toronto in Canada, working with disabled people, and he died in 1996. But this book tells a story of his encounter with a poster of Rembrandt's The Return of the Prodigal. In 1983, he was visiting to see some friends, and on the wall was this poster. And it spoke to him in a huge way. And over the next few years, as he reflected on that, he reflected on the characters in the story of the prodigal son and in his own life. And eventually, a few years later, he got to visit Russia and see the painting in the flesh. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through. One of the things he says is, this is in response to seeing the prodigal son and the actual picture by Rembrandt. I was dead tired, so much that I could barely walk. I was anxious, lonely, restless, and very needy. During the trip, I'd felt like a strong fighter for justice and peace, able to face the dark world without fear. But after it was all over, I felt like a vulnerable little child who wanted to crawl onto its mother's lap and cry. As soon as the cheering or cursing crowds were gone, I experienced a devastating loneliness and could easily have surrendered myself to the seductive voices that promised emotional and physical rest. As we explore the prodigal son together, the parable and the painting, I want us to try and find room to step into each of the characters. At the end of his introduction, Henri Nouwen says this: "For indeed I am the younger son, I am the elder son, and I am on my way to becoming the father. And for you who will make this spiritual journey with me, I hope and pray that you too will discover within yourselves not only the lost children of God, but also the compassionate mother and father that is God." Now, obviously, I've read the foreword this morning. I've read the introduction this morning in order to make this short video. But I'm not going too far ahead of you in the sense that I haven't read this whole book. Claire and I did do a retreat about this, but I want this to be a journey together. So, what is going to happen? What's going to happen is I'm going to post a few reflective videos through Lent. So this one should go up on Shrove Tuesday just as an introduction, and then we'll go through with probably one a week looking at the characters within the parable and the story and the painting itself. I'm going to use I've got this CD that's got some very short things which I'm going to use as an inspiration, and I've got some things that I've downloaded off the internet. And all that might sound a bit washy. I haven't done loads of preparation for it because I want this to be a journey that we take together as we concentrate on this parable. And of course, this parable is in Luke 15, and we're going through Luke together as a church. So I want this to be a journey of discipleship together. So I'm asking these questions of myself as much as I'm asking the questions of you. This isn't me coming to you with power and influence and kind of having all the answers. This is about us asking the questions together. So the sessions will include some readings from the book, some maybe reflections of what I found, but also some questions that we can sit and reflect on during the week. And because of that, I want to invite you to, I'm going to do a WhatsApp group and invite you to that, to be able to, if you want to join with me doing this, you can put your own comments in and reflections in there and ask questions of each other. So it's not just about me giving you information. This is about us exploring something together. So what do you need? Well, you need this video. You need a Bible so you can get to Luke 15 and look at the parable of the prodigal son. It'd be good if you could get to a computer and see the painting of the prodigal son by Rembrandt. And I'm going to put a link at the bottom of this video to that. If you want to read the book, this is a slightly longer version. It's got a second book in it as well. But if you want to buy a copy of the book, then that would be great to read along a chapter or a section a week. If you want to get yourself a picture of the actual painting, that would be good. If anybody's struggling to do those things, just let me know and I can send you one. I'm going to buy a pack of the postcards, so if you want one of the postcards of the painting, then please do so. But the link that I'm going to put on the video gets you to some really high resolution images, and one of the things I want us to do is to really concentrate on bits of that. So if you can download that, it's quite a large file, but if you can download that so you can really look at the painting in detail. So if you want to buy the book, let me know. It's just on Amazon or wherever you can get it from. If you want to buy yourself one of the pictures or ask me for one of the pictures, then that would be great. But apart from that, all we need to do is sit together, listen to the reflection, and I want you to ask these questions. So in this introduction, I have a couple of questions for you. I wonder, this painting had a profound and lasting effect on Henri Nouwen. So what work of art, painting, novel, poem or piece of music has touched you deeply, and why? Maybe it's something that you've kept coming back to. Over the course of several years, Henri Nouwen identified in turn with each of the three main figures in Rembrandt's painting. First the younger son, then the elder son, and finally the father. As you look at the painting, as you read the parable, which stands out to you? Which resonates most with you? And why? I'll leave those questions with you to have a think of before I upload the first session. And I want to start by reading you the version of the prodigal son that Henri Nouwen has at the beginning of his book. There was a man who had two sons. The younger one said to his father, "Father, let me have the share of the estate that will come to me." So the father divided the property between them. A few days later, the younger son got together everything he had and left for a distant country, where he squandered his money on a life of debauchery. When he had spent it all, that country experienced a severe famine, and now he began to feel the pinch, so he hired himself out to one of the local inhabitants, who put him on his farm to feed the pigs. And he would willingly have filled himself with the husks the pigs were eating, but no one would let him have them. Then he came to his senses and said, "How many of my father's hired men have all the food they want and more, and here I am, dying of hunger. I will leave this place and go to my father and say, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired men." So he left the place and went back to his father. While he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was moved with pity. He ran to the boy, clasped him in his arms and kissed him. And then his son said, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son." But the father said to his servants, "Quick, bring out the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the calf we have been fattening and kill it. We will celebrate by having a feast, because this son of mine was dead and has come back to life. He was lost and is found." And they began to celebrate. Now the elder son was out in the fields, and on his way back, as he drew near the house, he could hear music and dancing. Calling one of the servants, he asked, "What is all this about?" The servant told him, "Your brother has come, and your father has killed the calf we had been fattening because he has got him back safe and sound." He was angry then and refused to go in. And his father came out and began to urge him to come in. But he retorted to his father, "All these years I have slaved for you and never once disobeyed any orders of yours. Yet you never offered me so much as a kid for me to celebrate with my friends. But for this son of yours, when he comes back after swallowing up your property, he and his loose women, you kill the calf we have been fattening." The father said, "My son, you were with me always, and all I have is yours. But it was only right we should celebrate and rejoice, because your brother here was dead and has come to life. He was lost and is found." Speaking of the picture and of the parable, Henri Nouwen says, "It had brought me into touch with something within me that lies far beyond the ups and downs of a busy life, something that represents the ongoing yearning of the human spirit, the yearning for a final return, an unambiguous sense of safety, a lasting home. While I was busy with many people involved in many issues and quite visible in many places, the homecoming of the prodigal son stayed with me and continued to take on an even greater significance in my spiritual life. The yearning for a lasting home, brought to consciousness by Rembrandt's painting, grew deeper and stronger, somehow making the painter himself into a faithful companion and guide." And I hope that over these next few weeks, as we share these reflections together, that God will speak to you through the painting, to speak to you through scripture, and to speak to you through our time sharing together.